So you decided to start a diet. You figured out your calories, you have your protein, carbs, and fats written down. Great, but how does 194 grams of protein tell you how many packages of chicken, tubs of yogurt, or cartons of eggs to put in your cart? Do you calculate that before you leave or end up standing in the aisle trying to figure it out? In other words, how do you get from this to this? That translation from numbers on a meal plan to food you can actually buy is the step most macro videos skip. In this video, I'm going to take my actual meal plan and turn it into a weekly grocery list, and then use that list in a real store with real products and real package sizes. First, I'll quickly show you where this step fits within the larger dieting system. I'm not going to recalculate your macros or tell you whether to cut or to bulk. The focus here is what happens after you have a plan. Then we'll get into the practical process of turning those numbers into groceries. Before setting goals or adjusting calories and macros, establish a baseline. Record your weight, body fat estimate, measurements, progress photos, and a basic snapshot of your strength and cardio. For me, I weigh 200 pounds at about 5 foot 9 inches, and I'm somewhere above 26% body fat. The point isn't to fixate on these numbers, it's to create a verified starting point so you can tell whether your plan is actually working. Your weight may stall while your measurements, photos, or performance continue improving. Measure it once, write it down, move forward. You can't accurately judge progress if you don't know where you started. Next up is deciding your goals. You have to decide whether you're going to go on a cut or a bulk. Usually if your goal is to gain muscle, you go on a bulk. If your goal is to lose fat, you go on a cut. That's the broad framework. There's also something called the newbie gains period. If you haven't been training consistently, there is often a window of time when you first start training again where you can lose some fat and gain some muscle at the same time. Your body's basically primed to respond because it's not been getting that training stimulus consistently. My primary goal is to lose fat, since I'm over 25% body fat, so I'm going on a cut, and hopefully I'll gain some strength as well. After that, we get to the basic thermodynamics of it. Calories in versus calories out. If you're going on a cut, you need to eat less than you burn over the course of the day. If you're going in a bulk, you need to eat more than you burn over the course of the day. To figure that out, you need some estimate of your total daily energy expenditure. Basically, how many calories you burn in a normal day. There are plenty of tools online that can help you estimate this. They usually ask for things like your height, weight, age, activity level, how many days per week you train, how long you train, how intense your activity is. I put some examples on the screen that break this down in more detail. I'm not going to get into the full process of calculating that in this video, but the basic idea is, once you have a rough estimate of your daily calorie burn, you adjust it from there. If you're cutting, you go below it. If you're bulking, you go above it. For my own cut, I'm aiming roughly about 500 calories below my estimated daily expenditure. So over the course of the week, my goal is to lose about a pound. It might be slightly higher if I can raise my activity levels by doing more cardio or getting some more steps in. Once you have your calorie target, the next layer is your macros: protein, carbohydrates, and fat. Protein and carbohydrates each contain about 4 calories per gram, while fat contains about 9 calories per gram. More than twice as much. Each macro serves a different purpose. Protein supports muscle repair and recovery, carbohydrates fuel training and a daily activity, dietary fat supports things like hormone production, being satiated, and the absorption of certain vitamins. I'm not going to tell you exactly what your macros should be in this video. That depends on your body, goals, training, and personal preferences. For my cut, I'm using a plan that worked well for me previously when I was around 200 pounds. It sets my daily calories at about approximately 1,940 calories, divided into 40% protein, 40% carbs, and 20% fat. I'm doing about 194 grams of protein, about 194 grams of carbohydrates, and about 43 grams of fat. When you multiply that through, it's about 776 calories of protein and carbohydrates, and about 387 calories of fat. That gives me approximately the 40-40-20% split. Once you have your daily macro targets, the next step is figuring out how to break those macros into meals throughout the day. For me, that means breakfast, lunch, dinner, and a post-workout protein bar. So I'll be eating about 4 meals throughout the day, with my workout being after dinner. You don't have to eat that way. You can eat 3 meals a day, 2 meals a day, or anything in between. The number of meals matters less than whether everything adds up by the end of the day and fits the calorie and macro targets you already calculated. Once you know roughly when you want to eat and how many meals fit your schedule, the next step is turning those numbers into actual food. When I'm first starting a diet, I usually want to try to keep the food pretty simple and easy to prepare. For me, that means things like oatmeal, Greek yogurt, bananas, eggs, chicken thighs, cod, rice, spinach, green beans, or asparagus. I use a protein bar after my workout to reduce the friction rather than having to prepare another meal. Once you know which foods you actually like eating, you can use a food tracking app, nutrition labels, or online recipe tools to estimate the calories and macros in each meal. During this step, you'll distribute your grams of protein, carbs, and fats across your meals. I like to have protein at every meal and keep at least some of my carbs around my workout. One thing that makes this much easier now is AI. If you give it your macro targets, how many meals you want to eat, and a list of foods you actually like, it can give you a rough first draft of a meal plan in a few minutes. I remember how long this used to take before AI. So even though you still have to check the numbers and adjust the plan to fit your life, it removes a huge amount of the initial friction. Also, when I'm first getting started, I like keeping the meals simple because it also keeps the calculation simple. And that brings us to the part this video is really about. Once you have your macro targets and a rough idea of the meals you want to eat, how do you turn all of that into an actual grocery list? You know your calories, you have your macros down to the gram, and you have a rough idea of the meals you want to eat. But now you're standing in the grocery store trying to figure out what any of those numbers mean in terms of actual food that you can put in your cart. Your plan lists grams, the store sells ounces and pounds, and packages. This is the practical step that most videos skip. The conversion comes down to 3 moves. Move 1. Convert grams to ounces. Your meal plan may list food in grams, while most American packaging uses ounces and pounds. There are about 28 grams in 1 ounce, so divide the number of grams by 28 to get the approximate number of ounces. Nothing about the die changed, you're just converting the units. And when you need pounds, divide the number of ounces by 16, because there are 16 ounces in 1 pound. Move 2. Multiply by the number of days. Multiply the daily amount by however many days you're shopping for. If your plan calls for 8 ounces of chicken per day, and you're shopping for 7 days, 8 times 7 is 56 ounces, and that's about 3.5 pounds of chicken for the week. Move 3. Divide by the package size and round up. Now, look at the actual package size. If the chicken comes in 1 pound packages, each package contains 16 ounces. 56 divided by 16 equals 3.5 packages. You can't buy 3.5 packages, so you have to round up and buy 4. That's the whole basic process. Convert the units, multiply by the number of days, and then divide by the package size. Then round up. Do that for each of the main foods in your meal plan, and the plan starts turning into an actual grocery list. From there, it's just food. The food that you chose, the food that you like, and the food that you know how to prepare. That's when the plan stops living inside an app or on a piece of paper and actually gets into your kitchen. One way to make this easier is to do some of the work before you leave. If you regularly buy the same chicken, thighs, cod, yogurt, or any other staple, check the package in your refrigerator that you might already have and take a picture of the label. Then you already know the package size and nutrition information, and you can calculate how many packages you need ahead of time. But if you don't know what product you're buying yet, that's fine. Bring the amount you need with you, in ounces and pounds, and then choose the product in the store, and then finish the calculation with the actual package size. My meal plan lists the chicken thighs by raw weight, which also matches how it's packaged in the store. But always check whether your meal lists your food raw or cooked, because cooking changes the weight. I'll go deeper into that in the meal prep video. The last step is the one that makes all the other steps honest: results. Everything up until now has been a plan, and every plan is built on an estimate. Your daily burn was an estimate. Your calorie target was an estimate, built on top of that estimate. Results is where you find out how good those estimates actually are, and then correct them. Here's how I'm running my meal plan, and how I suggest you run it. Every 2 to 3 weeks, review. Take the same measurements as the baseline: weight, body fat, tape measurements, your performance, your photos, and one more thing, an adherence check. Before you change a single number on your plan, ask the question: did I actually follow the plan? If adherence was the problem, then the math was never the problem. If you did follow the plan, and the trend is not moving the way you expected, then your real maintenance was different than your estimate. So you adjust your calories and keep going. That's the short loop. A small correction every few weeks based on what your body actually did. Then every few months, or whenever you finish a phase, you run the longer loop. You go all the way back to the beginning and take a new baseline. Because at that point, you are fundamentally a different person than the one that you were when you started. New weight, new body fat, maybe a new goal, a cut becomes maintenance, or maintenance becomes a lean bulk, and then the whole framework runs again from the top. That's the system. Not calculate once and hope, estimate, measure, correct, repeat. Alright, that's about it for the overview. Let's go to the store and put this in practice. So, headed to Whole Foods, got my shopping list. Let's see how this goes. So the first thing on the list that I went to get was cod, and I needed about 84 ounces for the week. They only came in about 32-ounce packets, so 2 would have been too little, and I had to round up to 3 with some extra left over. So next up was chicken. I needed about 56 ounces or 3.5 pounds. The packets were between 0.8 to 1 pound each, and after doing some quick math in the aisle, 3 packets would have been just under what I needed, so I rounded up to 4. I pretty much had an extra packet. So next I needed 70 ounces of yogurt, which came in 32-ounce tubs. I would need 3 tubs, but that would leave me with a lot of extra yogurt, so instead I got 2 tubs and 2 5.3-ounce containers. Got some frozen vegetables. I needed about 28 ounces of spinach and 56 ounces of green beans. They both came in 16-ounce packets, so I got about 2 packets of spinach and 4 packets of green beans. I'm having an egg every day for lunch, so I need 7 eggs per week, but they only come in containers of 12, so I ended up getting 5 extra eggs for the week. I needed about 7 bananas, so I thought this one would be easy, just get a bunch with 7. After I left the store, I checked the weight, and I bought way more than I needed, so next time I have to probably try to weigh them. I needed 0.74 pounds of rice, but they only come in 2-pound bags, so I ended up getting extra here. So this should last me approximately 2.5 weeks. I need about 2 cups of instant oatmeal a day, so that's about 14 cups for the whole week. This was easy, just got 14 cups, so it was a nice 1-to-1. Lastly, before I left the store, I checked the list. I didn't need things like asparagus, olive oil, or coffee because I already had them, and I'd already bought some protein bars previously. Then I checked out and headed back to the car. So overall, I think that went well. I had my list. Everything was in ounces and pounds on my list. So I was able to look at every packet and just basically just round up. So normally I'd be scratching my head and be doing math while I was in the store if I'm starting a new diet. This time I was able to get in and out in about 20-25 minutes, and that's while filming. So I'm on the way back, and I'll wrap it up here. If you want the worksheet version of this, I've linked a free PDF in the description. It includes the full flowchart, some helpful conversions, the grocery list, worksheet, and 2 AI prompts that can do some of the meal plan and grocery list legwork for you. It will ask for your email because I'm building a direct way to stay connected with those of you watching this channel. Instead of depending entirely on YouTube's algorithm, no spam, and you can unsubscribe at any time. And if it's not for you, no problem. Everything you need to follow the process is already in this video. The PDF just saves you some of the setup and gives you something useful to keep on your phone or print out while you do it. Thanks for watching, guys. See you in the next one.